Angle not only pulls him off the pin, but in the process, Angle applies the ankle lock submission.
Kurt Angle, he's gonna snap that ankle if Jeff Hardy don't tap.
Gonna try and get Hardy to tap. Hardy trying to position his free leg to kick away. But he's coming up just short. Kurt's got his body lean back, Sting.
Jeff's trying to turn Mike like that to get the power off the hold.
Mike check. Anderson on top. Anderson won. Anderson two.
Anderson did it. Oh,
did he get it? Did he get it?
God, no, he didn't. God, that was a hair
But you couldn't be any closer.
No, you could not. Oh man, he almost did it. How frustrating is that for Anderson?
Anderson senses he's got Angle sufficiently weakened. Kurt rolls through, got the momentum. Instead, Anderson stacks him up. Hardy side roll. Hardy on top of Anderson.
Very smart by Anderson to be near those ropes. Double clothesline. All three men are down. Kurt the only one showing some life.
Yeah, can Kurt recover here and take advantage of that double clothesline? He's gonna go to the top again. There it is. Angle moonsault. This should do it. Here we go. 1, 2.
God, I thought that was it, Mike. Oh my God.
Wow.
Well, Hardy cannot be counted out. There is no count at this. No disqualification, as we said. No time limit.
We're going to settle this once and for all tonight at Bound for Glory. There goes Anderson. Able to put the shoulder into Kurt.
Leapfrog got caught. Kurt got caught in the leapfrog.
But Kurt's got an answer. So does Anderson.
Mic check, buddy. He's got the mic check lined up and counted out by Kurt.
Not going to get it.
Block the stand. Trying to do a stand and switch, but block that. Probably an attempt for a German.
What, the familiarity of both men come into play. They've got the perfect answer, the perfect counter.
Oh God almighty. Brian Hebner, the referee, he just got freaking destroyed inadvertently. Kurt didn't mean to do that. Anderson ducked quick.
He was just in the line of fire.
Oh, he sure as hell was, man. That ref just got lit up with that clothesline. You saw Kurt's face. He was shocked what happened.
Angle caught one suplex. Anderson.
We need another referee out here or something. It's no disqualification, as we said.
And now
no count out. But we need somebody with one man down. Wait, now what? Oh, Bischoff with a chair? Okay. I don't quite get what's going down here.
Bischoff coming in with a steel chair? What? What?
He's not here.
Oh no! You're wrong! He is here!
Whoa, wait a minute, Eric Bischoff! Man, he looks like he just got caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
You saw Hogan shaking his head no. It's not going to go down this way.
Eric Bischoff's true colors were about to finally come out. And Hogan, fresh off back surgery, is here.
And we know Hogan was there championing the cause of Kurt Angle, backing Kurt Angle.
Match is still going on, and the referee is down. How the hell is Hogan even able to get on the apron and
being assisted?
You just feel the pain the man is in.
What'd Bischoff do? Bischoff just took the steel chair and tossed it out to the floor. He's wiping his hands.
Yeah, well, a little too late for that.
Look at Bischoff come up with excuses for Hogan.
play peacemaker here.
Hardy trying to separate the two. Just daring Bischoff to hit him with the crutch.
Kirk made his way to his feet.
What the?
Wait a minute, Mike. What?
Twist of fate on Anderson. Bischoff drags referee Brian Hebner.
There's no disqualification. There's no...
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the match and new TNA Heavyweight Champion of the World, Jeff Hardy.
Look at Dixie Carter. She's as confused as everybody else.
What the hell have we just seen here from Jeff Hardy?
Ladies and gentlemen, the new World Heavyweight Champion, Jeff Hardy.
And now Jarrett coming out.
Well, Jarrett.
TNA fans here in Daytona just incensed at what they've witnessed. Pelting the ring with garbage. Pelting the ring with trash. I don't believe what we've witnessed from Jeff Hardy. We hear all this crap about Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy being a role model. Role model my ass.
Oh, you know what? Mike Dog, at the end of the day, he's the new world champion. That's what it's about. Hardy or not, he's the new champion, man. I mean, sure, obviously there's something. What the hell is going on here?
And a bit holding up.
Wait, hold on, Mike. It's Van Dam. He's... Jeff, what are you doing? What are you doing?
My God, it comes to 10, 10, 10. We're always going to remember it as the night Jeff Hardy made a deal with the devil.
I think the landscape in TNA just changed dramatically.
This is the Pro Wrestling Reflection Podcast with your host, the Professor Chalbello Veracruz. Mr. Wonderful, Tommy Wonder.
And I will take the powers of those that have no fear.
And the prodigal one, JB.
The cream, yeah. The cream of the crop.
Now it's time to go back in time in the time machine.
The American Dream! Nasty round! Too sweet!
The living legend, Bruno Sammartino. Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man! Woo! Look at this! He's I don't believe it!
What's going on there, Reflectionites? What is going on there to the Vitoites, the Haminites, the probationary PWCites, the Magnificent 7, the Elite 8, the Naughty 9, the Terrific 10? You know who you are. are back on the scene. The PWR podcast on the Hami Media Group at podbean.com is back on the scene. And you know what? Had a great time when TW came to the tri-state area. TW had such a great time. That's why he is inconspicuously absent right now, because you know what? New York is great for blowbangs. He wanted to do it. It was a bucket list, and he did it. And what happened is mouth injuries. So I'm going to tell you, see, the professor is the most transparent man in the scene, in the podcast game. So I give you the reels. TW had the blow bang orgy, whatever, and his mouth is hurting. He has been recovering for the last couple of weeks. So, you know, this is why we've been on hiatus for such, you know, for quite a few weeks right now. But don't worry, Reflectionites, because I got my main man, the executive producer extraordinaire. He said, Professor, I got your back. He said, Professor, what are we doing? Are we going episodic? Are we doing a spotlight? Are we going to the movies? I said, Big Ray, let me think about it. And I remember from his One Wrestling days. I remember the One Wrestling shows he did, the TNA video review shows that he did for Bill Apter and all that stuff. So it dawned on the professor that October of 2020 Quattro, that we could go back and do an episodic episode 189. We're going to go back to do TNA Wrestling Bound for Glory 2010, 10-10-10. But before we get into that show, I must introduce myself because I am very like that. I must introduce myself because every time I do that, I get younger by the day. I'm not the conservative liberal, the liberal conservative, but I am also studious. I am also charismatic. But most importantly, I am also the glorious one. The only objective man in this IWC, YWC, PWC punditry. The only objective man in this political hemisphere. You know I ain't voting for Trump. You know I ain't voting for Biden. You know I ain't voting for Kamala. I'm voting for Joe Pesci. I'm voting for the Sun. But I am the only objective man here. The Professor Chabelle Cruz. And again, TW is on the mends for his mouth. But I got the executive producer extraordinaire. He's the reporter of the people, the man with the plan, the man who's here to stay and talk some lucha libre, the man who's next level, the man who, with his wife, likes it raw. He is your friend and mine, Big Ray Hernandez. Let me say this. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for having the professor's back. Thank you for having TW's back. And thank you for riding strong for the PWR podcast.
Well, first and foremost, the only people that had TW's back is the guys that he was bringing into the hotel room on the rotation. That was it was scary. You know, when you walk in there and there's a bunch of hipsters just laying around naked, it's just freaking weird. But neither here nor there. Dude, man, of course I'm gonna do this for TW. TW with his giant mouth sore or whatever it is he has. What an idiot! Should have went to the doctor like 6 months ago, but it's fine. It's fine. We forgive you, TW. Just want to make sure that you're healthy, you're happy, and obviously you're always horny. So that's the Triple H. That's the 3 H's there for you: happy, healthy, and horny. And that's Tommy Wonder. If you have never met him in real life, I will address the fact that while we were in the hotel room and the hipsters were asleep, Tommy Wonder did physically attack me. He did jump from one bed onto the second bed with a high cross body press. Rendering sending my phone hurtling into my face.
It wasn't a high cross body Reflectionist. I'm sorry. It was the Diddy press because he was coming full on Big Ray. I'm just saying that because I was smart enough to move back. I saw it coming. I was a prognosticator. I actually wanted to apologize for the 12 that rise strong to Big Ray. I should have just said, Ray, move, get out of the way. But I just wanted to watch and laugh. But anyway, I'm just someone.
Well, here's the thing. I saw something about 6 inches long and hard hit my face. I thought it was something else, but no, it was my phone. Neither here nor there. But yeah, man, Tommy Wonder, we hope you're doing better. We know that this ain't gonna be easy. It's gonna suck. But to all you kids out there, when you're feeling sick, go to the doctor. Take care of it ASAP. We love you. We're praying for you, and may Jesus teach you a lesson.
Absolutely. Life lessons. That's what it is, Reflectionites. Life lessons. And before we get into this episodic episode, Ray, episode 189, again, We're going back to your TNA wrestling review days. We're going back to your One Wrestling review days that you had on Bill Apter's channel. Shout outs to the man who should be in the 2025 WWE Hall of Fame. He's already Hall of Fame in every other wrestling genre, if there is, everywhere else. Only one mountain left, and it's an easy mountain to do. Hashtag Bill Apter 2025 WWE Hall of Fame. But anyway, neither here nor there. But Ray, we're going to do TNA Bound for Glory 2010. But I want the Reflectionites, the 12th that rise strong, who might not know your history of covering TNA wrestling. What gave you that passion to review wrestling? And not only, I know you love wrestling. That's a given. We know you love wrestling. You're an affinity for wrestling. Your father did the wrestling and all that stuff. And you're a wrestling fan for all these years, all these decades, just like the Professor, just like TW, just like the Reflectionites out there. But in the 2010s, for your YouTubes, you picked TNA wrestling. What was that? What was that motivation like?
Well, it's crazy because this is around the time I started really. Well, I was always watching TNA. I watched TNA from the very, very beginning. Like I think I remember watching the very first show ever on pay-per-view. Like me and my father stumbled upon it. He's like, "What is this?" And I think we saw Scott Steiner or someone. I forgot who it was that came out that we knew on the very first ever show. Maybe Ken Shamrock. Well, anyway, so he's like, "Oh,
it would have been Ken Shamrock, Travis Trent, and Jeff Jarrett. Those were the first names everybody remembered."
All right, so those are the guys that my father's. Oh, so that's where those guys went. We didn't know what the hell NWA TNA was. I mean, I knew what the NWA was. I didn't know what TNA was. So this show is kind of cool because so how it goes is that I started really watching TNA again. Really, really, like I'll say, when was the Aces and Eights gimmick? Was that 2009?
That was 2012 and 2013, respectively.
Okay, so remember, now check this out. I'm really, really becoming a huge TNA fan. Watching it weekly. A couple of months after this, in the summer of 2011, so this is October, my father passed away in June. So I had already been doing little videos on my own private YouTube channel for TNA. I sent those videos to Bill Apter, like a couple of links and stuff like that to his email. I was reaching out to different people who were doing YouTube channels, and that's where I started. Like, for those that don't know, I mean, you guys, if you Reflectionites, you probably know that my father was a professional wrestler. So I grew up watching wrestling, grew up around the wrestling business and stuff like that. And the truth of the matter is that when my dad passed away, I felt like I needed that connection, and this was a way for me to get out of a very deep depressive state I was in at the time. So Bill Apter actually became a really close friend, an uncle to me. I call Uncle Bill. A lot of people do, but we have a special connection. And TNA, this is the time that kind of reminds me of the last year I spent with my dad. Man, this paper, like the fact that you picked this shit was like, it was like a really tumultuous time in my life, man. I think Aiden was born in 2008. So he was turning 2, and I was, and at that time, me and my ex-wife were already not working out. We were considering divorcing. Like, it was like a crazy freaking time in my life. And TNA really helped me get through a lot. That's why when Bill asked me what I wanted to do, what I wanted to focus on, I was like, I don't want to review Raw. Everybody's reviewing Raw. I don't want to review SmackDown. I want to do TNA. And I became the TNA guy for OneWrestling.com.
Nice. And TNA wrestling was basically a great escape for all the other, realities in your life. So, sometimes you need that Reflectionites. Sometimes you need that great escape when, work, drags you down, your spouse drags you down, real life situations drag you down, and you need an escapism. So TNA was a great escapism for Big Ray. So, like I said, Ray, I picked this because, it's October. We know it's Bound for Glory season for TNA wrestling. So I was like, you know what? The PWR podcast is not done. the 10-10-10 edition of the Bound for Glory series. So, I just wanted to pick that, coincidentally, and see where we go from there. So, we're going to celebrate. It's been 14 years, Reflectionites. 14 years since the infamous 3 numbers, 10-10-10. So before we even talk about the matches, Ray, let's just talk about the state of the wrestling industry in 2010, because respectively, when you look at Bound for Glory 2010 Reflectionites, this was the culmination of the vision, if you will, of Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan coming onto the scene of TNA wrestling. They created the buzz for TNA wrestling. Again, they attempted to do the Monday Night Wars 2.0, and it didn't work. It only worked for like a couple of weeks, and then they went back to where they belonged on Thursday Night Impact. But Ray, that 2010, when you looked at from January 2010 to the culmination of 10-10-10, when you look at Hogan and Bischoff coming in, when you look at Rob Van Dam coming in, Ken Anderson coming in, let's say the dynamics of the power struggle between Jeff Jarrett and Hulk Hogan and all this, the founder of TNA, and then Hulk Hogan and Bischoff coming in, and then like who is taking Abyss, who is twisting Abyss's head around, saying they are coming and all this stuff. We know this is a Vince Russo booking extraordinaire. Some people laughed at it. Some people question it. Vince Russo will tell you that because of 10-10-10, I think either the impact before Bound for Glory or the impact after Bound for Glory was the highest rated impact edition ever in TNA wrestling history. So Ray, take it. What did you think of 2010 TNA wrestling when they were trying to attempt to really, not challenge the WWE, but be on that same level for that same platform and try to brand it? Because Dixie said it. I want to take TNA wrestling to the next level. I want to make it mainstream. I want to make it, I want to make it on par with WWE. What say you?
Well, I mean, I remember watching on social media, and I forgot where I saw it, where Kurt Angle, was it YouTube? Might have been YouTube, because YouTube just started. When did Kurt Angle come to TNA? Was it 2009?
2006.
All right, so he had been there. Whoa, so where the hell did I see it? I probably saw it on one of those forums. Back in the day, they didn't have freaking YouTube. It was a forum. You get an email or some shit. And so I remember seeing that. So, damn. So I'm thinking, I have to think back right now, because I was watching TNA in the early 2000s. I stopped for like a couple years, and I got jumped back in around 2004 or 5, I think it was. And then I watched it straight through.
Right.
So I watched
2004 was the Spike TV editions of TNA wrestling.
Right. That's when I was really, really I started becoming a fan. And I remember Christian Cage and all these guys coming to TNA. So now you're asking me, what did I think about TNA in 2010? Well, as a fan during that time, I remember doing a video a long time ago, and I must have deleted it or something. I can't remember. But I remember being so angry that they got rid of the six-sided ring. Six-sided ring. Actually, if I'm correct, I'm doing this off the top of my head, I think TNA used the six-sided ring from 2004 to 2010.
Give or take, yeah.
Yeah, and I think 2010, that was it. That was it. That's when Eric Bischoff and Hogan came in. I had a feeling in my gut, I had a gut feeling that this wouldn't work. And I was a TNA purist, as you would call it. I was a TNA purist, and I still love WWE. Don't get me wrong. I was a huge WWE fan at the same time. See, nowadays, you either like AEW or you either like WWE. You can't like both. I choose not to like both because I think one sucks, and it's not WWE. I'll just put it that way. It's like horrible, so bad. So I don't watch it. I don't watch it, but I have enough WWE content to fill me for the week. Got 3 days of the week I can watch that. 2010 was an interesting time. I'm just wondering, what was happening in the WWE around this time? Who was it? Was it John Cena? Was he on top of the mountain at that time?
Well, he was a major player. 2010 was the return of Bret the Hitman Hart coming back to the WWE.
That's right.
So that's how they countered everything that Hogan and Bischoff was trying to do on their end in 2010.
Right. That's right. That's when he went head to head. Oh, and that's another thing. Like when they went head to head with WWE, I remember saying to myself, this shit is not going to work. this is impossible. That was the biggest. That might have been the death kill of that company. Yeah. I mean, they're still alive. And I remember doing Remember when I used to do shows with Andre Corbeil, the Can-Am Wrestling show, and we were the only ones. We were the only ones reporting because we were getting inside information, but we were only ones reporting, whether it be reporting from knowledge or reporting from our heart and gut, that TNA was not going anywhere because TNA was supposed to die. How many years ago? I've
stopped counting after 2011 or 12.
Right. So think about that. And it's 2024. And you could say that it's not what it was, but it's kind of a resurgence for that company and the great partnership with the WWE. Can you imagine if they would have done this partnership back then, before Bischoff and Hogan arrived? That would have been awesome, man.
It would have been awesome, but I'll say this, for a lot of flack that Dixie got, and we know that she gets a lot of flack from
I like Dixie Carter. I love Dixie Carter.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, let me just say this. She took a chance. She said it in one of her, I think one of those speeches that was on TNA Impact Wrestling where she, talked to the locker room and everybody was at the Impact Zone and they had that, that all hands meeting. And she said, I'm going to do things that you might not agree with. I'm going to make some decisions. And if you don't like where I'm going, there's the door and you can go. So I can respect her for taking that risk. I can respect her for trying to get TNA to another level because she already had the hardcore fans. She already had the IWC. She already had the indie fans in the palm of her hand. But the problem was that those indie fans did not want TNA, their baby. Just like you said, you're a purist. You was the TNA purist with the six-sided ring, all that stuff. You wanted it to stay a certain way. You wanted it to be the alternative to WWE, but then it became WWE Light. And a lot of the indie fans, a lot of the hardcore fans just did not want to see that. And that was the first, layer of fandom, Reflectionites, if you will, that turned their backs on TNA wrestling. Now, like Ray said, is a resurgence right now. Again, in terms of TV, the numbers don't see, figure that, Ray. I mean, I don't, they sometimes get 50,000 on a Thursday, but they're on their own TV network at Access TV, Ray. But I understand where you're saying that resurgence because the fandom is back. The hardcore fans are coming back. And some people have turned away from AEW because they just don't like the direction that AEW is going. Again, that's just neither here nor there, but it is what it is. So what say you, Ray, about that? And then we'll talk about the pay-per-view itself.
No, you made my point. I was going to say the exact same thing. This is why AEW, I was an AEW fan the first 2 years of the company. And then year 3, I said, that's when they started talking about, we're going to give life insurance and cover, and everybody's going to get paid equally. And talking to people in the business, they were like, that shit ain't ever going to happen. That's some Jesse Ventura shit. That's never going to happen. Wrestling is always going to be wrestling. It's always going to be carny shit. People are always going to cut each other's throats. There's always going to be cliques. And this is when AEW, about 2 or 3 years, I'll say 3, maybe 3 to 4 years, but more the third year, started becoming, like you said, WWE Light. And it totally turned me off from wanting to watch that. So now with TNA, the only reason at one point I was covering TNA was because I was doing it for Apter. Because during the Aces and Eights thing, it's the NWO. Even though I think that faction was underrated and that storyline was underrated, there were certain aspects of it. But Hogan bringing in his daughter, and then down the line you have Abyss wearing the red and yellow with the stupid ring, and it's just so stupid and gimmicky shit. And they went away from the stuff that made us fall in love with TNA. And this is why I don't mind watching TNA now. It is a way different product than WWE. It's nothing like WWE. You may have some matches that are as equal or as good as WWE, even better. But but right now they're catering to their hardcore audience. If AEW would have stayed catering to that hardcore audience, signed a star or two, and build from within, I think they would have been fine. That's how TNA did it because they built from within. Like, I mean, yeah, they brought in some old school guys, which every company has to do that. But I mean, if you think about it, back in the day, it was AJ Styles.
There was a great mixture, like you're saying, with veterans, people that you knew, and then the young and hungry people.
Bro, you had AJ Styles, the Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels. You had Beer Money, and I mean, I'm sorry, Team Canada. That later was split. I mean, you had AMW. You had all these great tag teams, all this great talent. Names like Elix Skipper. I don't know if you guys remember that guy. These are all people that became names within TNA. And as much as he was kind of a ripoff of Kane, Abyss was a big deal for quite some time in TNA. A legend in the business. And Chris Parks now works for WWE. So anyway, I know we have a lot to cover, but this is TNA is one of my favorite topics to talk about. So I may ramble on, so you gotta cut me off every once in a while.
Well, if TW can ramble on and I let him spew, I could let you ramble on. So
he's talking about the glory hole and stupid shit.
Well, everybody rambles on their favorite topic, so TNA is your favorite topic. But when we get into the match, Ray, let me just say this: for TNA 2010 purposes, Reflectionites, the roster was balanced. The roster was stacked. We talk about the Motor City Machine Guns. We talk about Young Bucks. We talk about Jeff Hardy. We talk about Kurt Angle. We talk about Mr. Anderson. You even bring in the old legends like the ECW people. You had Fortune with Ric Flair and all that stuff. Ray, talk about that roster in 2010. Again, RVD came in. You had Sting. You had Nash. You had Jay Lethal and all that stuff. That roster was equal to WWE's roster and all that stuff. Yes. So it wasn't like you was getting like not only was getting an alternative pay-per-view, but you was getting an alternative pay-per-view with no names, with some street cred. What say you, Ray?
Yeah, man. I mean, what was cool about TNA at that time was, like you said, you had some crossover guys and girls on the roster, but you had a lot of talent that didn't get the opportunity that maybe they should have. And the perfect example was somebody that headlined this pay-per-view, Mr. Anderson or Mr. Kennedy, if you remember him. Also, you had homegrown guys that were getting over, like Eric Young and his insane person gimmick that he was doing back in the day. This was a really, really solid roster. But again,
there's a but.
Maybe it's a story for another day. You have your Jeff Jarrett there, Eric Bischoff and Hogan, and they decide to focus in on the older talent. Then you're bringing Kevin Nash, and then eventually Scott Hall pops up and X-Pac will pop up, and then all of a sudden it starts becoming watered down, and then they start focusing and giving those people, giving them the carte blanche, as you would say. And then turning your backs and then giving fucking AJ Styles a stupid Ric Flair gimmick. Well, that's not his thing. I don't know if you guys remember that. So, I mean, the one thing I will say is that the saving grace for TNA at that time had to be their tag team division led by the Dudleys. Let me tell you something. Team 3D or the Dudley Boys, people tend to not remember this shit. They think that Team 3D was in ECW for like 20 years. No, they were there for about 3 or 4 years. Then when they went to WWE, they were only there about 4 or 5 years. They spent, I think, a decade in TNA. Yeah.
Give or take.
Look it up. So if you think about Team 3D and all those titles they won, the fact of the matter is that, maybe they made their name in ECW. Maybe they became super famous in WWE, but they became legends in TNA. People forget about that. People forget about all those battles they had back in the day. So this was cool. You had guys again like Jeff Hardy coming into the mix. And Sting, Sting was he still had a run or two in him, like a legit run or two. RVD, these are people that I was like, wow, all right, they may not have a chance over there in the WWE right now. Let's see what they can do here. So I was excited about TNA at that time.
Again, before we go into the match reflection, again, we're not going to talk about every match. We're going to talk about the important matches and the important angles, because this is a great topic about TNA in 2010. But Ray, you harped on something that I heard it in your voice. Again, with being the purist that you was frustrated. That's the homegrowns, the people the day oneers like Samoa Joe and like AJ Styles and Bobby Roode, kind of like got pushed to the backside for a Ric Flair, for an RVD, for a Sting, and for a Kevin Nash. Yep. Now, I remember around this time or a year later, Paul Heyman has vehemently said in interviews and kayfabe commentaries he wanted to buy a stake into TNA wrestling, but only on the condition that he wanted to push the young guys, the day oneers. He did not want the old timers there because he knew that for TNA to grow and become bigger than it was, you had to start with the young guys. And I hear it in your voice, Ray. So again, hindsight is 2020. I might do a what if in the near future. What if Paul Heyman actually had ownership stake?
Good what if
TNA wrestling. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a preview, Reflectionites, of that future what if down the road. But I wanted to talk to Ray first. I mean, you was frustrated. I heard it in your voice about the Stings and the Nashes getting the TV time, the all important TV time. Mm-hmm. But I can also flip it and say, well, does AJ Styles, does Samoa Joe, the people that the casuals might not know, do they deserve that TV time? Because again, you need the no names to start your product off right. You need the names you trust. I understand that they're a little bit older, they're a little bit slower, but those are no names that you need to at least focus on. But what Dixie and TNA didn't do right was to, bring the day oneers to the next level. Just like the WCW cruiserweights, just like the WCW mid-carders did not get to the next level because of the NWO, main event hostage takeover of TV time. What say you, Ray, about that? The what if scenario of Paul Heyman taking ownership and doing what I want him to do.
I remember that being a huge discussion back in the day in the IWC at the time. Also on social media, so on and so forth, the early days of Twitter. And I was hungry for Paul Heyman to buy that company. I wanted him. I knew that if Paul Heyman could get his hands on that talent that we had, could you imagine AJ Styles under a Paul Heyman, like under his direction? Like, I mean, he became a star, and I mean a legend, but like, man, I mean, you like the Motor City Machine Guns, man. What would the Young Bucks have been if they would have stayed in TNA under the tutelage, the guidance of a Paul Heyman? I'm looking at some of the names here. Let me see. You have guys like Eric Young, guys like Jay Lethal, guys like Rob Van Dam, who worked closely with him. I mean, there's a guy on this that we're going to talk about, and I don't mind if we just quickly like mention the matches, because there's a match here that we may not go over, but
go ahead.
But like D'Angelo De Niro, I saw money in that kid. Excuse me, I'm still getting over a cold. I'm gonna be coughing a bunch. I saw so much money on that kid, and I just felt like he was one of those guys. D'Angelo De Niro was one of those guys that came from WWE that wasn't given an opportunity. Went to TNA, cough button, to get an opportunity. And when he got there and started building his name, that's when Hogan and Eric Bischoff came in. So,
right.
There. Am I skipping the question?
No. Ray's going to be no. You're not skipping the question. Actually, that's a good answer, because again, there's a lot of names. There's a lot of untapped potential that was there that just did not get the TV time reflected tonight. So we just wanted to hone in on that. And now let's get into some of these matches that really, it just proved because TNA also had a brand for themselves. Like, what was it? Wrestling Matters in TNA Wrestling, because of their roster, and they really honed in on professional wrestling. It wasn't about sports entertainment Reflectionites. So the beginning of TNA Bound for Glory 10-10-10 start, usually their pay-per-views always started with the X Division title. Not this time.
Right.
Not this Bound for Glory. It started with the tag team title match, but all four contenders are X Division type wrestlers.
It was an X Division style tag team match.
Yeah. So you had the champions coming in, the Motor City Machine Guns of Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin from TW's favorite place, Detroit, Michigan, against Generation Me, also known as the Young Bucks. Again, I did not watch a lot of Ring of Honor back then to not know about the reputation of the Young Bucks. Again, when I started watching New Japan and the Bullet Club stuff, then I got to respect the Young Bucks. I only saw Generation Me. I liked, again, one of the funny things about my criticism about them in the 2010s, I said they were too fast. Everything was so fast, and they had no gimmick.
They got too much shit in there.
They had no charisma and all that stuff. And if they just slowed down, they would be a better tag team. Had they slowed down Reflectionites? Technically, no. But they got a little swag. They got a little character. So what say you, Ray, about this first match, this opening match for the TNA tag team titles? These 4 combustible elements, all 4 X Division wrestlers per se. This was, a great way to start a pay-per-view.
As great as the Motor City Machine Guns, and I guess you would say the Young Bucks are to this day, they've never evolved. Like, legit, this is the exact same match that they would have today. And there were glimpses of, like, I was looking at Max. What are their real names? The Young Bucks.
Nick and Matt Jackson.
Nick and Matt Jackson. I'm watching Nick and Matt, and I could see glimpses of some, like, playing to the crowd and working the cameras, working the audience. But you said it right there. They were trying to get everything in on this match, and it was so fast. And it was so many different transitions and tags and flips and flops and all this shit that there was no story being really told in this match, except for the fact that at one point, yes, Generation Me or the Young Bucks couldn't get the pin. I guess that was the only story that they were telling during this match. It was hard to pin the champions. Okay, great story. There was
also another ulterior story, Ray. I didn't mean to cut you off, but the ulterior story was the Motor City Machine Guns. I talked about this with TW in the Greatest Rivalries edition. The Motor City Machine Guns were working so hard to get those tag team belts, but also they were working so hard after all these years to get the respect from their peers, to get the respect of the fans. And this was another notch in their belt to get the street cred, to get that respect from their peers and, let's say, the IWC critics. Because did you take them seriously? Maybe not. Did I take them seriously? Maybe not. But the matches were great. I just want to say there wasn't another ulterior story going on with that.
I get it. But listen, at this point in juncture, the right team went over. The Machine Guns did retain the titles, but again, man, I don't know if this is an old school thing about me. I need to be able to digest what I'm eating. What I'm saying is that I'm not that type of person that gets a pizza and just scarfs it down. I like to enjoy it. I like to taste it. I like to just sit down and enjoy my food. Same thing. Like I eat dinner with people and say, you take so long. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm enjoying, I put time, I put effort, money into this meal. Why should I rush through it? I want to enjoy it. I don't go out much. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. You don't watch at this time, during these times, you didn't have as much wrestling as you did now. So why are you getting all this shit in? Like, save it. Save something. There was no build, man, I get what you're saying that the Motor City Machine Guns were that was the ulterior, story, or the alternate story was that they're trying to get respect. Where was that here? Were they angry at the crowd? No. Were they going to the cameras, grabbing the camera, saying, "Do you respect me now?" We deserve respect. Yeah. How about the spot when they jump, when one of the guys, when they hit a big move, they roll out of the ring and they grab the headphone of one of the guys doing play-by-play, Taz or Mike Tenay, and saying, putting it on and saying, "We deserve the respect. Look what we just did in the ring." None of that. Just moves.
Yeah, it was just moves. Yeah, you're right. I agree with that.
That's it. So, I'm just saying, for a modern day AEW crowd, this would be a 5-star Meltzer classic. For me, I'm more of a traditionalist when it comes to the fact that, and I can appreciate a flippy match, but I'm more of a person that I watch wrestling not for the moves but for the story. Being told in the ring.
No, I hear you, but I guess the one question before we go on to another match, Ray, traditionally for pay-per-views or just any event, you needed to get that heater going. You needed to get the fans going. So did this match, at least in your humble opinion, accomplish that for the 3,500 at the Daytona Bay Center?
I'll say it did. And it did because, again, during that time, the TNA crowd was used to having the match like an X Division match. This was an X Division match. A lot of moves, a lot of flips, a lot of flops. I felt the X Division did tell better stories in the ring, but did it energize the crowd? Yes. And I think the match after this was a good kind of like a downgrade pace setter. You know, I wouldn't say a bathroom match or anything like that. We'll talk about that. But but yeah, man. Yes, to answer your question, I think that it did energize the crowd. But, you know, is this a match that, I mean, Bound for Glory 10-10-10, I guess, is a big deal. I forgot this match happened.
Oh, really?
What about that? I do remember some of the other stuff. I forgot about this one. So.
Okay. Again, as we get older, Reflectionites, we can't remember everything. Even though I'm the professor, I have to go back and then be like, oh yeah, and I need something to like hit me over the head and say, oh yes, this did happen on a specific date. So with that being said, the next match, you know, Ray even harped on it a little bit, but in 2010, you know, one of the advantages of having an alternative, Reflectionites, is, you know, more time, more opportunities. And the women's division in TNA, and I keep saying this, and I'll always will say this, at this time, they were light years ahead of WWE's women's division or the Divas division, whatever you wanted to call it, because they respected the women on that roster. They gave women time. They gave women storylines. They gave women characters. And for this match, you had for the TNA Knockouts Championship, it was a fatal four-way with the beautiful people, Angelina Love and Velvet Sky, even though it wasn't a tag team match, but Mike Tenay and Taz were trying to harp on that kind of story because everybody in this match, it could have been a tag team match, but it was a fatal four-way. So you had the beautiful people on one side, and of course you had Tara, aka Victoria from WWE lore, and the champion Madison Rayne. And Ray, like I said, the women's division in TNA was way better than the women's division in the WWE because, like you said, the Divas matches, they were bathroom breaks. The Divas matches, unless they were bra and panties matches or mud bath matches or porn star matches, I wasn't going to watch a WWE women's match. But for TNA lore, when they started their women's division, the Knockouts division, whatever you want to call it, Ray, in 2007, with Gail Kim being the inaugural TNA Knockouts champion, the rivalry she had with Awesome Kong and all that stuff, I said that this was the division I wanted to watch. This was the division I wanted to invest in. And they never steered me wrong. They haven't really steered me wrong ever since they made that commitment to the women's wrestling scene since 2007. What say you, Ray, about that?
Well, first, I gotta put over the fact that I forgot how much of a crush I had on Velvet Sky, and let me tell you something, brother. She still looks just like that. She's a beautiful woman.
I haven't seen her in a while. I don't know what she looks like, but I take your word for it.
Like that, just a little older. Fantastic, beautiful. Now, yeah, I agree. I used to love watching the old Gail Kim Awesome Kong feud back in the day, but TNA always gave their ladies more of a focus. I'm not gonna say always. I would say maybe the mid 2000s. You know, past the in the beginning of TNA, all the women were just dancing in cages, literally, in like a thong or something like that. But yeah, man, people talk the women's revolution. We don't have to get into this. Everybody knows that's a real wrestling fan. You know that this shit really started in TNA, where women started saying, "Oh shit, these girls can work. These girls can go." Now with this match, I thought this match was fine. I understand where the story was coming. Who was the champ here again? Was it Velvet Sky? No, the champ was Angelina Love, right?
Angelina Love was the champion.
Right, Angelina Love was champion. Tara was her friend, or her bodyguard, or whatever you would call it. And listen, what so happened was Tara ends up getting the win, and it was kind of an awkward finish. That was one thing I noticed about this match.
Oh, one thing, there was a special guest referee in this, and there was the newest TNA signee. If you read Reflectionites, Mickie James made the jump. She crossed the line.
Prime Mickie James. Prime. This is the prime of her career right here. Like, think about fucking shit. Like, Tara was in her prime. Who was Tara in WWE? What was her name over there again?
Victoria.
Victoria. Like, legit, this is her prime. You got Velvet Sky in her prime. Madison Rayne in her prime. You got like Angelina Love in her prime. Like, you have all these women in their primes wrestling. Gail Kim, she was still green in the WWE when she came to TNA in her prime. Like, forget about it, bro. It was just, what a division. Now, with that being said, Mickie James comes. That's a big deal, man. In her prime, the TNA. All these women, they look the best they've ever looked. They wrestled the best they ever wrestled. Again, this match was fine. It was a solid, okay match. I understood the storyline. It was dissension between Tara and Angelina because Tara wasn't supposed to get the pin. She was supposed to help her friend, who is the champion, retain the title, and she ends up winning the title.
It was Madison. It was Madison and Tara being together as a pack.
Right. But Tara wasn't supposed to be there to win the title. She was supposed to be there to make sure that nobody, that her homegirl won the title or kept the title, or whatever it would be. And it didn't happen. We had a new champion. And I may follow up and watch on my own what happens next.
But I just want to stay on this match for a second, Ray, because again, what we were talking about earlier, Reflectionites, is that Dixie and Hogan and Bischoff was making this big push in bringing in, I don't want to say WWE retreads, but they were bringing in the WWE top names, the known names, and all that stuff. So this is a prime example, Ray, of what we're talking about with, you got the homegrowners of Angelina Love and Madison Rayne and Velvet Sky, but then you have the WWE influence of Tara being there, but also Mickie James being there. Doesn't that overshadow the day oneers, if you will? Does that overshadow what you're trying to build with this wrestling division? What you build with this company and all that stuff, Ray? What say you?
Oh man, choking. Stand by. Not easy.
Velvet Sky makes me choke too, so I guess everybody chokes from Velvet Sky. Go ahead, Ray.
So basically, I see what you mean, but at the same time, these are people that really didn't get their opportunity in WWE. That's why I'm saying, like, during this time, you had hold on again, I'm sorry. At that time, you had homegrown talent. You had people that never really got the opportunity that were coming into their prime. And then you had the old heads. I wasn't talking about these people like Mickie James, like Tara. These are talents that are young, that are coming into their own, and they're coming to TNA to help build the product. I was talking about people like Jeff Jarrett, people like Hulk Hogan, people like Kevin Nash, even RVD. If you look at RVD was tail end of his prime, but somebody that brought value to that product. You feel me? Kurt Angle, forget about it.
Okay.
So I understand the question that you're asking me, and all I'll say is that there was nobody in this match that wouldn't help continue the build of TNA's women's division.
I hear you. I hear that. I kind of agree. I just wanted to throw that question out there because, of course, I'm the most objective man in this IWC, YWC, PWC punditry. So with that being said, we're going to focus right now on certain matches with the biggest storyline in TNA for 2010 purposes, Reflectionites, and that is 10-10-10. Now, this angle was going on for weeks, for months. Let me try to abbreviate it as best as I can, Reflectionites, and even for Ray, because again, somebody was coming into TNA to take over the whole organization. It was going to change the landscape of TNA wrestling. Sting had his issues with Hogan and Bischoff. He didn't trust them. He felt there was something off about Hogan and Bischoff. So there was a power struggle. Dixie, was involved in it a little bit because Dixie trusted Sting, but also Dixie trusted Hogan and Bischoff. She trusted their vision. She trusted the mantra, if you will, Reflectionites. So there were certain wrestlers that was on the side of Sting. And that was Kevin Nash, and that was D'Angelo De Niro, and all that stuff. But then you had the Team Hogan people
You had Hogan and Bischoff. You had RVD supposedly on Hogan's side. You had Jeff Hardy on Hogan's side and all that stuff. And that will manifest itself later into this match. You had Fortune and ECW, jarring with each other, Mick Foley and Ric Flair respectively, because of the power struggles that was going on for weeks and months at a time. So with that being said, one of the matches that really parlayed the 10-10-10 angle, Ray, was Rob Van Dam versus Abyss. And it was a Monsters Ball match. Now, RVD was the TNA heavyweight champion like a month or two before Bound for Glory, but Abyss took him out. Now, IWC purposes or the Dave Meltzer Sheet purposes, RVD was paid for certain booking appearances. And TNA realized that they were actually running out of the contractually obligated RVD appearances. So if he was going to make, let's say he had 20 appearances for that 2010 calendar year, he was already up to number 17, and you needed RVD for some other television appearances. So they had to write him off, had to do the injury angle to make it make sense. So I just wanted to put that out there. So Ray, with the 10-10-10 angle going on, the power struggles going on, what say you about this Monsters Ball match with RVD against Abyss? Abyss was saying for weeks, for months, they are here, they are coming. RVD wanted to get revenge on his supposedly best friend Abyss for attacking him and taking him out and making him vacate the TNA Heavyweight Championship.
Well, I had to go back. So while I was watching this match, they had mentioned, I Googled. I was like, wait, what the fuck happened here? Wasn't RVD supposed to be champion around this time? And I forgot that this happened. And when he started mentioning 10-10-10, I'm like, oh God, this is when it all went to shit. This is when Hogan turns. This is when this happens. This is when I don't want to spoil everything, but this is when everything goes away. Literally, 10-10-10 was the moment that TNA started spiraling downward, because they stopped focusing on those younger talents that they could have built on. Let's say, again, example, Mickie James, Tyra, those girls, AJ Styles, and they started focusing on Kevin Nash, Eric Bischoff, Hulk Hogan. Do you guys remember how many backstage segments or in-ring segments those three had? All the time.
I lost count.
So bad. So with that being said, I do remember this. But this Monsters Ball match, right? This was a pretty good match. Not bad for a gimmick match, for a hardcore match. I've always fucking hated Professor. The way fucking Abyss sold. And there was one thing that he always did that I fucking hated, and I hate it now when he does it, is when he does that handshaking thing. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Whenever he goes through barbed wire, or it's like he just rewatch every match that he ever does when he takes a spot where he gets hit, like he got hit by Janice, and he starts his head like you hit a nerve or something.
He
so
can't
control his hands.
It's like he's got a tick or convulsions or something like that. Yeah,
spasm. Oh, fucking hate that shit. Abyss is a monster as a worker. I thought Abyss was actually really good. Not bad. Underrated. And this match was pretty solid, man. But it just reminded me of what the fuck happened after this, and where TNA started, the direction TNA started going after this. So
I totally understand. RVD gets the win. RVD gets he gets his revenge against Abyss. He gets the payoff, if you will, Reflectionites, that he gets the revenge against Abyss and all that stuff. So, another story from the 10-10-10 angle was the 6-man, well, no, actually it was a 3-on-2 handicap match between D'Angelo De Niro, Kevin Nash, and Sting against Jeff Jarrett and Samoa Joe.
I'm sorry, I was confused. I'm like, who the fuck are the baby faces here? Like, at first I'm over here thinking that, listen, hold on. At first I'm thinking that's Sting, Kevin Nash, and D'Angelo De Niro are baby faces. But I'm like, well, wait a second. if they're the baby faces, why is it 3-on-2? And as the match is playing out, I'm like, oh shit, Samoa Joe and Jeff Jarrett are the heels. Are the baby faces, and these guys are the heel. What the fuck is going on here? So it's like the old man that I am, everything started coming back to me. And I say, oh, this is why this happened. This is why that happened. I remember being upset at this. Oh, fuck, I remember this shit now. Everything came back to me during this fucking match. And I was like, oh, shit, okay. I'll leave it at that. I'll let you continue, but we can discuss, like, our feelings and shit during this match. But, yeah. So I was confused. Were you confused, like, when you first saw the match?
No, I kind of remember vaguely about the 2010 power struggles. And I remember, again, it was kind of funny because we could talk about it a little bit right now because, again, from January 2010 to this point of 10-10-10, with all the power struggles, if you review Reflectionites, Hogan and Bischoff, were tweeners because they did some shady shit. They also did some babyface shit. And then there were people that were against Hogan and Bischoff. And Sting was the first person to say, I do not trust Hogan. I do not trust Bischoff. But Sting was doing some heelish shit. But, of course, the crowd was never going to boo Sting. The crowd was never going to, give Sting those kind of flowers to being a heel. He was just the hero in black, if you will. Right. But then Sting needed some backup. And Kevin Nash understood what Sting was talking about. D'Angelo De Niro, a.k.a. the Pope, understood what Sting was talking about. So with this match, and then Jeff Jarrett, for some strange reason, because in the early stages of 2010, Hogan and Bischoff was fucking with Jeff Jarrett. Mm-hmm. And then midway, like in May of 2010, Jeff Jarrett said, you know what? I'm Team Hogan. I'm Team Bischoff. And he just said, I'm riding with Hogan and Bischoff. I'm riding with, them for TNA to the next level. And then this match became a 3-on-2 handicap match. And Samoa Joe, one of those supposed day winners, he was on the side of Jeff Jarrett. And with all the combustible elements, Reflectionites, Jeff Jarrett did not get in that ring. Jeff Jarrett did not come to blows with anybody.
Nobody.
Samoa Joe took the brunt of the match. Yep. And then when he tried to tag him, Jeff Jarrett did the ultimate dick move. What a dick. And then went away. And then, of course, Sting and Nash and D'Angelo De Niro got the win with all that stuff. But it wasn't like a huge celebration. They were just looking at it like, you see, we told you. We told you, Joe, that something is wrong. Something is fishy and all that stuff. So, Ray, take it over. What did you like? What were you confused about? Or, what went wrong in your head about this moment?
Again, everything came back to me. So I'm like, oh, wait, this is when Jeff Jarrett turns on these fuckers. Jeff Jarrett is with these people. I don't want to spoil it. Jeff Jarrett is with these people. Jeff Jarrett is part of this whole 10-10-10 bullshit, Project 25, whatever they call it. So I was like, all right, this is when it's happening. So I'm watching this and I'm like, okay. So Sting, Kevin Nash, and De Niro are the baby faces. They're trying to convince Joe. And Joe had to find out the hard way. And Joe, and listen, man, Joe, oh God, he was one of my favorite TNA talents of all time. ROH original, but yes, TNA original as well. And man, he fought. I think this moment endeared himself. I mean, the crowd loved him anyway, but this was a cool spot where he's just literally, he's fighting and he knows he's gonna lose. He's like, fuck it. He goes in there and he just throws as many punches as he can, but he gets taken out. But yeah, man, Jeff Jarrett, I was like, oh, damn, this is the beginning. This right here was the beginning of the shitstorm that was about to hit TNA.
It was the beginning of the shitstorm, but also another example of what we were talking about. And this match probably even told Paul Heyman, like, I ain't investing in TNA because you fucked over Samoa Joe. The way he looked was ridiculous. He looked like an idiot and a chump and all that stuff. How can anybody take Samoa Joe seriously? How can anybody say that? How can anybody validate Samoa Joe as the next level tier superstar that even Paul Heyman saw in him and all that stuff? Because this match proves your point, Ray. They wanted, the TV time went to Sting. The TV time went to Jeff Jarrett. The TV time went to Kevin Nash. And people like Samoa Joe, those day oneers, laid to the wayside and all that stuff. It just was kind of weird, but also that's where they were going with this. Let's put the bow on it and then we'll go on.
Yeah, I mean, who was the major focus? At the end of the day, the major focus was Jeff Jarrett. Why did Jeff Jarrett do what he did? Why didn't Jeff Jarrett tag in? That dastardly Jeff Jarrett. It's all about Jeff Jarrett, and it's all about the old guys telling the young, dumb guy that he was dumb and he failed, and they should have listened to the old guys. So, yeah, I get it. Putting a bow on it, again, this is just the beginning of the end. And I realized it when I was watching this. I was like, this is where it all hits the fan. So, yep.
All right. So before we go to the next 10-10-10 storyline, match per se, there was an interview with the Dudley Boys, aka Team 3D, because this was another pivotal moment in the legacy of Team 3D, because they announced on 10-10-10 that they were gonna separate because they wanted to go their single ways. Again, this is where Bully Ray, this is before Aces and Eights, Bully Ray, Big Ray. This was before, Sergeant Devon of Aces and Eights and all that stuff, but they were going to split, and do their own thing and all that stuff amicably, not the WWE draft way they separated and then kind of like fell to the wayside. This was Bully Ray's singles push, if you will.
Right. Yeah.
But they wanted one more match for those TNA tag team titles, and they called out the Motor City Machine Guns. And this was, again, part of the alternative storyline for the Motor City Machine Guns, so they can get the notch on their belt,
right,
a notch in their legacy to becoming one of the greatest TNA tag teams of all time. If they can climb that mountain, that was Team 3D. I just wanted to point that out there, right there.
If I remember, they did get that win. They did beat Team 3D. Team 3D went out on their backs. Bully Ray and both Devon left, and then that's when Bully Ray came back in the best shape of his life.
Yeah,
am I right? And that's when then they started the storyline with him and dating Hogan's daughter, and then eventually became the leader of the Aces and Eights, and
that's all that stuff.
You guys should do a spotlight on Aces and Eights. Have you ever done that?
Again, that's a lot of work. That's years of work.
Is, buddy.
We have to filter and do all that stuff. But again, neither here nor there. That's another story for another day, another spotlight for another day. But another 10-10-10 storyline based match, if you will, Reflectionites, was Lethal Lockdown, aka War Games, EV2 or ECW 2.0, Raven, Rhino, Sabu, Stevie Richards, and Tommy Dreamer, with being coached by Mick Foley, aka Cactus Jack, against Fortune, or the Four Horsemen ripoffs, whatever you want to call them, being led by Ric Flair, consisting of AJ Styles, James Storm, Frankie Kazarian, Matt Morgan, and Robert Roode. So with that being said, this was a different 10-10-10 angle because it wasn't really about the power struggle of Hogan and Bischoff per se. This was because logistically, Reflectionites, and I remember this, Dixie Carter gave a pay-per-view slot to ECW. They got the, let's say, one night stand TNA edition. I forget if it was, I don't know if it was called Lethal Justice or something like that, but it was an ECW based pay-per-view. And
wasn't
the storyline was,
I
don't know, I forgot it was, but you know what I'm talking about, because a couple of months before that, it was a TNA ECW one night stand kind of thing. Dixie Carter gave, a seal of approval, open door, red carpet treatment for all the ECW guys, and Ric Flair was so pissed about it. Ric Flair and Fortune was so pissed about it. It was like you're giving TV time to these old geezers and stuff like that. Oh, go ahead.
Hardcore Justice.
Hardcore. There you go. Hardcore Justice.
Hardcore Justice.
They Dixie gave Hardcore Justice all to ECW, and Ric Flair was pissed. Fortune was pissed. So you had to culminate this at Lethal Lockdown, and I guess, and whoever, and if if EV 2.0 lost Lethal Lockdown, then they would disband, they would quit, or they would be out of TNA forever. And of course, that did not happen on this particular night. So, Red, what say you about Lethal Lockdown? We all love War Games. We all love the concept of War Games. But Lethal Lockdown, and I think Lethal Lockdown with the 6-sided ring, Big Ray was happy about that. But Lethal Lockdown with the 4 corners, Ray was like, nah, this is some bullshit. Am I right about that assessment, or you have a different take?
Remember when I told you before we started recording that I almost fell asleep, or I fell asleep during one of the matches? This was it.
Okay.
This was the match that I was like, what is this shit? Oh, God, now I remember this. And again, I remember this. Oh, they're going to put the old ECW guys over. When you have, you have prime AJ Styles, prime Kazarian, prime Mad Morgan, prime Beer Money on one team. And you have them lose to fucking bald-headed Sabu, fat old Raven, even fatter Rhino, even fatter than that, old Tommy Dreamer with MMA gloves, and of course the greatest wrestler of all time, my buddy Stevie Richards. It should have just been him. I gotta tell you something. So you guys know that Stevie, that's my boy. I love Stevie. I was gonna text him or call him when I was watching this match to ask him if at any point during the time that he was standing on top of that cage, he wasn't shitting his trunks. Because the spot where they set up the ladder on the top of the cage and shit, and they were doing a table spot, and Stevie was smart enough. You have to rewatch this because the table couldn't. It's very difficult to set up a table with skinny legs on a cage. So Stevie basically had to keep one leg down off the table to keep himself up for the spot. If you don't know what I'm talking about, rewatch the match. But Stevie looked fantastic, by the way. I think that's one of probably the best shape he's ever been. But it was just, remember how I told you like the X Division tag team match that we watched to kick off the show? There was too much to digest. Same shit with this. My mind tends to wander when I watch a match like this because there's literally so much going on, so much blood, so many ridiculous spots. I start losing the feeling of believability in my brain, which turns me off to this.
Right.
I know this is not a time thing. Like I know we're talking about old school shows, but today I did a review of NXT. People are going to listen to this 10 years down. They'll be like, oh shit, what? But my favorite match of the night was the match with Brian Pillman Jr.'s kid. They call him Lexus King now. Who knows? Maybe 10 years from now, it'll be Brian Pillman Jr. again. But Lexus King. And he fought, I forgot the kid's name. I don't know. He's the West Indian kid. And they did what was called the gentleman's match, where they couldn't fight outside. That match? I love that match. And the reason why, don't laugh at me, the reason why I love that match was because I'm an old school wrestling traditionalist. So I like to see like how they how they go from one move to another. How, and it's just, I love that. Like I used to love Dean Malenko against Eddie Guerrero. Oh my God. Like those matches, they bring out this fucking shit here, this shitstorm of blood, piss, and vinegar and old man hair. Bro, this shit sucked. I could not stand this fucking match. And then when fucking the young guys in their prime go lose to Fat Raven with gray hair outside, bloody, I'm like, don't forget fat old Mick Foley and even fatter Ric Flair. Everybody's fat in this match except for Stevie Richards because he has StevieRichardsFitness.com.
Fortune wasn't fat. Like you said, they were prime. They weren't fat.
I'm talking about the ECW guys. Everybody's fat and old.
Yes.
Fucking. Oh my God! What a shitstorm. Tommy Wonder, man, I can't believe you made me watch this match. You son of a bitch. Next time, fix your teeth.
Well, I'll say this. I'll put a bow on this again. I'm an ECW mark through and through, but even I know the realities. They're getting older. They're getting slower, and I just don't want to see my heroes be what they become. It's just.
Did you not feel bad for Raven? Did you not feel sad for Raven?
Yeah, I felt sad for Raven, but again, I don't. Is that a disrespect for us fandoms? I don't want to see my heroes in this light. I even said that years ago with Ric Flair in the 2000s. I didn't like him the way he was being presented in WWE because I just said I want to remember Ric Flair for the way he was, Full Horseman Ric Flair, NWA Ric Flair, and all that stuff. Same thing with EV 2.0. I want to remember Raven in the 90s. I want to remember Sabu with hair. I want to remember, Stevie Richards, like you said, was ripped. So I want to remember Stevie Richards for 2010, not 1995, because he was a little skinny wimp and all that stuff. But You get where I'm going with. I want to remember my heroes in their prime. Except for Stevie Richards, they weren't in their prime and all that stuff. So I just want to say
I'm not saying it because he's my boy either. Stevie Richards legit looked fantastic, and he worked so well during this match. I just have to throw it out there. But I agree with you saying, man, you don't want to see these people that you grew up loving just look like shit, and then they win.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck me.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to fuck you, but I understand where you're going with this. But with that being said,
not you.
With that being said, let's talk about the main event of 10-10-10. And this was to crown an undisputed TNA World Heavyweight Champion. It was be settled in a triple threat style. It was Jeff Hardy, Kurt Angle, and Mr. Anderson. The one thing I'll say this, Reflectionites, for 10-10-10, well, not for 10-10-10 purposes, but for TNA's Bound for Glory presentation, was when the main event came. Ray, remember the intros for all three competitors? They had that great Tron with the flag banner thing waving. I like the way they presented Jeff Hardy. I like the way they presented Mr. Anderson and Kurt Angle, all that stuff. That shit looked flawless to me and all that stuff. Getting great, before the match. But like you said, the ending leaves a sour taste in your mouth. You have three in their prime athletes going at it for like almost 20 minutes. But then you're not remembering what happens during the match. You're not remembering.
And it was a good match. It was a good match,
but you needed the clusterfuck ending, and that clusterfuck ending involved Bischoff with a cane, with crutches. It involved Hogan with his crutches, and he was coming back from having hip replacement surgery. Then Jeff Hardy regains his faculties, takes the crutch away from Eric Bischoff, and it looked like he was on Team Hogan through and through and was going to beat the shit out of Eric Bischoff. But then Kurt Angle came up, and of course, everything changed right there. 10-10-10 revealed itself as the ultimate ruse between Hogan, Bischoff, Jeff Hardy, Abyss, and Jeff Jarrett. And then a week later, we would find out Fortune was involved in the They Are Here and all that stuff. So, Ray, what say you about this clusterfuck main event ending of 10-10-10's Bound for Glory?
I'm looking up a picture. Let me see. TNA belt. Is this the time when Jeff Hardy got rid of the TNA title? Oh, yeah, here it is. Oh, God. Let me just pull this up here. Jesus, this thing is fucking hideous. Where is it?
Well, that was marketing. I mean, you could respect Jeff Hardy for trying to do something different because, again, he was going for a dark, heelish character.
Look at this. Oh, wait. Oh, that's Angelina Love. No, I didn't want to show you that. Hold on. Oh shit, Professor. I'm not. Anyway, what was the question again? Oh, here it is.
Oh no, I wanted your opinion about this clusterfuck ending of 10-10-10's Bound for Glory with all the stuff. Yeah, the bell was okay. We understood where they were going with that.
It disappeared.
It's ugly.
Let me tell you something, brother.
No, it's ugly.
Let me tell you something, brother. And this is when he started wearing the purple shirts and all this weird shit. And when he started using drugs again. All right, here's the deal. Again, I knew this was coming because I remembered it. And I was so sad. I was just so sad because I said to myself, oh, shit. And this is it. This is the culmination of everything I feared. Hulk Hogan with his stupid smarmy. Now, I want you to really wrap your head around this. Hulk Hogan came back from fucking back surgery. So he's walking around quick. He's an old man. You get white hair Eric Bischoff, right? Then you get drug addict Jeff Hardy. Then you got fucking old man Jeff Jarrett, who's still old and still winning titles apparently in AEW. Bro, I was just like, oh, fuck. And then they fuck over the two guys. Now, again, people forget Kurt Angle had a longer and more storied career in TNA than he did in WWE. He's more of a TNA guy. Kurt Angle is more of a TNA Hall of Famer than he ever will be a WWE Hall of Famer. If you really don't, go check it out for yourself. But Mr. Anderson, Are you fucking shitting me? And they turn, and it's like, oh, fuck. The NWO 2.0. And then eventually this doesn't work. This whole dumb shit doesn't work. It doesn't work. I'm gonna spoil it. This shit doesn't work. So then they say, all right, let's try NWO 3.0. And that's when a year and a half later you get fucking aces and eights. Fuck me. TNA sucked after this, but I stayed. I was dedicated. I did shows with Andre Corbeil. I did shows for Bill Apter. God damn it. And I watched all this terrible shit. Fucking Bully Ray boning Hogan's daughter, Brooke Hogan, who's like 16. Come on.
Oh my God. You got flashbacks right now. This is PTSD flashbacks right now.
I'm physically getting ill thinking about how they fucked. Listen, guys and girls, whoever's listening, TNA was so good. And these fucking people, Hogan and Bischoff, came in, and within a year, they fucking destroyed everything this company fucking worked to build.
Wait, but no disrespect to Russo and Channel Attitude, but he did write this too. I mean,
don't worry about Russo. Leave him out of this.
I'm just saying.
Listen. Listen. On a personal level, I love Vince. I've spoken to Vince 1,000 times. I think Vince is a sweetheart of a man. He's not what you think he is. Now, with that being said, he did write some shit that sucked, and this was one of them. Oh fuck!
But he won't say that. He will tell you, and I think he will be adamant about it, that the Impact ratings, I think before it or after this particular angle, they were the highest rated Impact ratings in the history of the company.
It's a fact.
Yeah,
it's a fact, but doesn't mean it was good.
Yeah, and doesn't mean sustainability, Reflectionites. It doesn't mean the popularity grew and all that stuff. Go ahead, Ray.
I'm an example. Okay, do you remember Chuck E. Cheese, the pizza place? How popular was Chuck E. Cheese?
Well,
you say it was it's very popular, right?
Yeah, it was very known.
Kids went there. That pizza was the shits. It was the shits. Just because something's popular doesn't mean it's good. So with that being said, I love Russo as a person. Whatever stories you hear about him and Big Vito and who bought pizza for each other and all this shit, I think Vito bought. It's a long story. I don't want to get into it. The fact of the matter is this was the downward spiral of TNA. And this downward spiral kept going well into the fucking Jeff Jarrett era of the GWF, the global, whatever the fuck is that what he called it? The global wrestling, whatever the federation, or whatever the hell he called
it.
Global Force Wrestling. And then Anthem bought, and then they put an owl on the damn belt, and oh Jesus Christ. And I stood by this fucking company. And to this day, my friend, I leave you with this. Till this day, I still listen to my friend Brandon and the Vet doing the Impact Attack. We still do the Impact Attack. And I will say that, thank God, TNA's gotten better. Again.
There you go.
So.
And to put a bow on this, if for the video Reflectionites, when you see on Big Ray's Twitter handle, at Big Ray Hernandez, if you see his face and you see the disdain, it's no different than a New York Met fan and all the suffering that they've gone through. They suffer, but they still love their team. So he suffers, but he still loves TNA wrestling. With that being said, we close on episode 189 of this edition of the PWR podcast here at the Hami Media Group at PowBeam.com. And I want to thank again the executive producer extraordinaire, Big Ray Hernandez, for filling in for TW and all that stuff. So, Big Ray, the floor is yours. Promote your shows, promote the reviews, promote everything you want here on the PWR podcast.
Well, I will go on and say that if Tommy Wonder is not back by next week, I'll jump back on with you, Professor, if you want to do that.
Yes, all right. And next week actually will be a very interesting show because we're going to do a spotlight. And you're going to love this one too. We are going to spotlight an untapped potential faction, if you will. We are going to do a spotlight
on a very infamous group.
Okay.
Paul Lee Dangerously, Stunning Steve Austin.
Oh, yes.
Ravishing the Crew, Arn Anderson, The Cruncher Larry Sabisco, and Beautiful Bobby Eaton and Medusa, collectively known as the Dangerous Alliance.
Nice. I like that. I like that a lot. All right, cool, man. I mean, if Tommy's not here, I'll be on for it. Listen, guys and gals, you can follow me on social media. Hey, listen, you can follow. Before I put myself over, you can follow the PW Reflection on Twitter at PW Reflection on Twitter. You can find Tommy Wonder at the Tommy Wonder on most, if not all, his social media. I know on his grinder he's at Tommy Wonder 69. You can find him there. You can find us on the Big Vito brand. You can check. You know what? Go over to Big Vito's TikTok. Give them a follow there at Big Vito brand. Also on Twitter at Big Vito brand. You can find them very easily. Thank you, Noel and Vito, for all the love and support. Of course, all our stuff on Hami Media Group. You can find us here on YouTube. You can find us here on Twitch. Just search Hami Media or Hami Media Group. You find us there. Also on TikTok, on Instagram, everywhere. We're everywhere. Follow me on all social media at Big Ray Hernandez. Very simple, very easy. I know Professor is at PW. What are you now? Prof PW Hustle?
PW Hustle PROF.
You always change it around, man.
I know.
You confuse me. But don't forget to follow my boys at the Wednesday Locker Room. I just put up their podcast. They're available right now on Podbean and also on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts. You can find it. It's today, Wednesday Locker Room. Well, whenever we're recording this, I think Wednesday. We recorded this Wednesday, October 16th. That's available. You can check that out. The Andrew Bello, Strangler Steve King, BRV. And don't forget the dirtiest in the city, the one and only 8-Track Brown. Check out his shit, man. The PW Hustle Network's on the YouTubes. If he's that lazy motherfucker decides to put the shit up, like we always say, I'll put it up tonight. So it'll be up Wednesday. It's up every single Wednesday night, very late, but it's up on my Twitter at Big Ray Hernandez. So I think I've go back to the YouTubes. Check out I Like It Raw with me and Jimmy T. Go back to YouTubes and check out Next Level Wrestling Review with me and the Vet. It's all there, guys. Or go to channelattitude.com. You get all the cool stuff there. Also, you pay $5 a month, but listen, $5 a month, you get Vince Russo booking. Fucking terrible. Jesus Christ. But thank you, Prof, man. I love you, brother. You got me off at a good time. I get to hang out with my wife a little bit, and it was just fun, man. Like I said, Tommy, if you're not back, Tommy, from your mouth aids, I'll be here next week.
Cool. And I don't even have to say my socials because Big Ray said it. The executive producer extraordinaire said it himself. And with that being said, I'm the professor. That's the executive producer extraordinaire, Big Ray Hernandez, saying good night. We'll see you next time here at the PWR podcast at the Hami Media Group at podbean.com. Peace.
Do I do the Ultimate Warrior thing like Tommy?
There you go. You just did it.
There you go.